My name is Gary Butterfield.
And I'm Braden Cameron.
And you're listening to Watch Out for Fireballs. It is a Games Club podcast. This episode, we are talking about Command & Conquer Red Alert 2, Yuri's Revenge. And this episode is very special because, as you heard, I am joined by Braden Cameron.
Hello, that's me.
It's Braden, who you may know from the network, other shows and such. Braden, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. Had a pretty good weekend so far. Here I am in sweltering morning Portland heat, ready to record a hot episode about tanks and dudes. I'm really excited.
Hot episodes and hotter games here on Watch Out for Fireballs. Now, you may be wondering what happened to Kay? This is a guest episode. This episode is special for two reasons. Mm-hmm. One, this is a guest episode. We talked about these in the year-end wrap-up. We're going to start doing these. This is so Kay can have a break.
This is a vacation?
It is a Kaycation. Kaycation, all she ever wanted. So every once in a while, we're going to bring in some of our friends to guest with us. And this is also special because this is an executive produced episode. This was produced by Craig. Big thanks to Craig.
Thanks, Craig.
Yeah, thanks, Craig. I like the excuse to play this. I hadn't actually played the expansion. I'd only played Command & Conquer Red Alert 2 normal.
Yeah, I think I played Command & Conquer Red Alert 1, but never played 2. And I played a little bit of Tiberian Sun, a little of the original, and then a lot of Command & Conquer Generals. So that it's like the three flavors of Command & Conquer there.
This is the Neapolitan Command & Conquer set. I'm gonna ask you about Generals here in a moment because that's the one I have no experience with. Before we get into it, this episode will be a little bit different. When we do these guest episodes, at least the way that I'm planning to do mine, is slightly more zoomed out. I have rather than kind of going, and it's an RTS game, right? So going kind of mission by mission. Especially at least the way I play, I don't want to speak for anyone else, would get tedious. Mm-hmm. So we're going to kind of do it a slightly different way. Before we get into that, though, Braden, who the hell do you think you are? Who are you? How might people know you? I mentioned that you've been on the network and everything, but give me the 101 on Braden.
Yeah, I'm a dude. I just I hang out a lot. Sure. But I am a friend of Gary and Kay and a longtime friend of the network of Duckfeed. And, I've been on Duck Streams in the past. I used to do a couple of shows with Gary. We did The Pitch. We did Teenage Dirtbags. And I also guest hosted for quite a while on... Check It Out, Comrade, which is fitting, I guess, for this episode.
yeah, that's true. Check it out, Comrade, Dark Comrade. Even though Command & Conquer is funny because in a world where communism sounds a little bit better, not this version of it. I don't want to be fed into a shredder, but it's funny how the specter of communism is not super scary right now.
No,
politically,
no.
It seems like it'll give you a nice massage.
It is the way that it's also like a lot of ineptitude, which is expected, I guess. That's fitting in the idea of Cold War Soviet Russia was a lot of bureaucracy and people fumbling around.
Yeah. Well, the way that this game politically is very funny, trying to figure out what this game's attitude, what it's trying to say about America through the president character.
Yeah.
In this game's where, well, you weren't supposed to do this. He's very, very feckless.
Yes.
My history of the series real quick is that I have played Command and Conquer, the normal Command and Conquer a couple times. The first one, I played Command and Conquer Red Alert 1 and 2, and I played Command and Conquer, Renegade?
Oh,
the
sure.
FPS.
I haven't played Renegade. That was FPS. That's fine.
Yeah, it's not very good. Those are the Command and Conquers I've played. I don't have a deep history with this franchise, but I've always had kind of a soft spot for it. I'm probably more of a Warcraft, StarCraft guy, but I do like the series.
Yeah.
You had mentioned the kind of ones that you had played. I have never played Generals. How is Generals different?
Generals is pretty fun. If you want to get into it, you have standard. Command and Conquer is just a straight by the book RTS. Red Alert is kind of the funny version. Tiberian Sun is the sci-fi version, and then Generals is the racist version.
Oh,
and in it, the basic premise is that you are. There's three factions. There's the Allies. I think it's actually just the United States. There's the Chinese, and then there's the GLA, which is the Global Liberation Alliance or something like that. And those are the Middle Eastern faction. And they, of course, use all poisons and things like that. Radiation. And then the Chinese is just real bad accents the whole time. And, but, the beyond that part of it, the hook is that you choose a general when you're choosing your faction, and they have special abilities.
Okay, so hero unit.
If you're
focused.
So if you're in the choosing an ally, there's one that's really good at jets and whatnot. If you are or you get one that has the special upgraded space laser that shoots down and stuff like that.
Right on. Yeah, so like a hero focused, more customizable version of this plus racism.
Yeah, exactly. The generals aren't on the board. Those are just those are who you are, I guess.
Oh, got you.
It's not like Tanya. Those are just your macro abilities.
Got you. They do something similar to that in StarCraft 2.
Right.
So Command and Conquer, the franchise, in case you're not familiar, this is an RTS franchise we mentioned. Yuri's Revenge is an expansion pack for Red Alert 2. This was released in 2001. And this is an RTS. It concerns itself with a bastard psychic named Yuri. To me, Yuri looks like a Dark Enlightenment YouTuber.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Someone who's gonna talk about maybe being a soy boy, in that era.
It's gonna be PUA stuff, and then phrenology with this guy, the semiotics of the human skull.
That fits, given that he has a prosthetic head.
Yeah, he does have a prosthetic forehead for his real head.
Yes.
The franchise is interesting. So this is developed by Westwood. Westwood were not the inventors of the RTS, but they're really early pioneers in the genre. Widely considered to be the first RTS is Herzog Zwei on the Sega Genesis, weirdly enough. But that game, while very neat, does not look like a modern RTS very much. Westwood are the people who codified a lot of the stuff we do in RTSs. So buildings and bases, gathering resources, tech trees, having your factions have differences and stuff. That is an RTS or Westwood innovation.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I'm glad. Thank you for doing that, Westwood. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Westwood.
I like how that turned out.
Yeah. We have a whole section of the notes where I want to talk about what our relationship is with RTSs, because one of the things trying to approach the notes for this game that I realized, we're going to primarily talk about the single player campaign, but that is not what these are for. It's how I always play them though. You know, and I'm pretty bad at RTSs, even though I love them. So this is the campy kind of futuristic. The whole series is campy and futuristic to varying degrees. The mainline branch is more serious. The Tiberium series. This is a science substance that has contaminated the Earth that's popped through. Red Alert, however, has an alternate timeline where the Soviet Union wages war on the Allies. And each one is goofier than the last. It is so fucking goofy.
I know that, especially you get to the third one, and it's like they can't take anything seriously.
Well, the
it's
meme,
fantastic.
right? Like
the famous meme, which I'm sure we'll talk about when we get to a similar level later.
It's great. It's a miracle. That is the celebrity death I am least anticipating. Like,
I know
I'm gonna feel that one.
But that is one thing that I always thought was weird about this specific, I guess, offshoot of Command and Conquer, is that I have no idea what time it's supposed to actually be, because like Einstein's alive.
I read it was the 50s,
Okay,
but they're also like super harriers and shit.
Yeah,
It is an alternate universe without Hitler. Tech advanced really fast. We didn't know this, but he was actually putting down, spoiling for innovation as well. Add that to his crimes, that man.
Yeah.
This series started in 1996, so it is a venerable series.
Mm-hmm.
You and I, the reason why I called on you for this episode is that I know that you like RTS games as well.
I do.
I like them as well. For just speaking for me, I don't want to speak for you during any portion of this, but I primarily play them single player. And in the community, like if you look up high level RTS play, it is all clicks per minute, clicks per second, even.
Yeah.
Just people who are really serious multiplayer at this. It is a highly competitive thing. It's never been for me. I have played through all of the Warcrafts, all the Starcrafts, most of the Command and Conquers, a bunch of Age of Empires, stuff like that. And I just play them single player. I just do the little story modes. That is kind of, it is not, where the mechanics really shine. So that is the perspective we're taking. This can be seen almost as a sister episode or a rider to a live episode Kay and I did a long time ago about playing games wrong.
Oh, sure.
Where we talked about playing the Smash Brothers game single player. Mm-hmm. That's kind of in the news right now. Mario Kart's out. I'm just playing that single player, which my wife informs me is freak shit. How do you approach these games, and what if you play them that way? Like, what is the joy that you get out of them? Why are these fun for you?
Yeah, I guess I do a little bit of everything. I enjoy the story in most of the games. When I played through like Age of, I think it took me a long time playing through the story of Age of Empires 2, mm-hmm. Because I primarily played that one multiplayer with some friends. Or I would set up, bots and just mess around for a while. Mm-hmm. But something like Age of Mythology, I played through that for story. StarCraft and Warcraft were for story as well. But I also played online. So yeah, did a little bit of everything. I will say, not every YouTuber out there is doing clicks per minute multiplayer. There are some that like to do weird challenges that I enjoy watching. So it'll be someone who plays through StarCraft 2 and tries to do it only with Zerglings or something like that. And that is a pretty fun watch.
Yeah, that sounds fun. I've never gotten to that point where I'm doing challenge stuff, but is there anybody specific you want to shout out?
I would if I could remember their name. Yeah,
that's maybe a classic later. Conundrum. That's YouTube for you. That happens to me too.
I don't want to pull up my phone and just stare at it while we're recording.
I appreciate. For me, the satisfaction, I am playing for the story and kind of the dramatic arcs of it. I also find building little bases really satisfying. Mm-hmm. Just in it reminds me a little bit of drawing little forts.
Sure, yeah.
As a kid, so the way that I end up playing these games a lot of times is making a very defensive base, and then creating an insurmountable wad of people I can just kind of chuck at the enemy.
And this game in particular, there's no unit cap, so it really encourages you to just spend every resource that you have making a person.
In a lot of ways, it is a pro-natalist game. But in a lot of ways, it encourages you to have huge groups, huge armies. Mm-hmm. We'll kind of talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, you make it's called the death ball in the community. Other franchises have caps on the death ball. This one has no cap on the death ball. I just make a huge death ball Katamari and just kind of toss it. And it's because I'm not good at shortcuts and macros,
right?
Things like that. Do you ever fuck with that? Are you?
Yeah, I mean, I used a lot of keyboard shortcuts, but it was in this case, because it's an older game and the tutorial is set up for you to have access to a manual.
Yes.
It was a thing that I had to actively search out. Like how do I actually repair? Like what is the shortcut key to repair?
Yes. Even though this game was ported to consoles and stuff, which seems like a nightmare.
I can't even imagine playing an RTS on a console. I don't know how it's done.
It's not great. They've made it better, but it's not great. Command & Conquer specifically is really known for its multiplayer. This was the first RTS series to feature online play. And up until through Red Alert 2, your copy of one of these games came with a second copy for a friend. Very sweet. Kind of
really
similar
cool.
to Split Fiction with its Play Pass thing. And this is an expansion. We've mentioned that a few times. Back in the 90s and early 2000s, expansions were big. It wasn't like DLC. It had to have enough content to justify coming on another disc.
Yeah.
So this ups the challenge. It is a new story, new units, new features, and usually will introduce a new faction. This faction is not part of the single player game.
Right.
Here. And we're going to talk a little bit about Red Alert 2 as well. It's hard to kind of talk about the story of this without getting into that. So we're going to go into that. We're going to talk about mission highlights. We're going to do a little bit of a series history. But first, let's talk about aesthetics.
Yeah. Something I studied in college.
Yeah, it's college aesthetics moment.
That's right.
To me, this is the main reason to play the Command & Conquer games in 2025. Is they have a unique aesthetic, and part of what they're famous for are these FMV cutscenes with real actors.
Yeah.
These are a blast.
They're the best part of the game, in my opinion. As much as this is not a way of saying something bad about the gameplay, which I also enjoyed. It is, but the cutscenes are so campy and fun, and just like a nice, refreshing break in between levels.
Yes. It's happy. It's nice when they pop up. Mm-hmm. It never drags on, and they are consistently funny most of the time on purpose as well.
Yes.
This is a comedy game. It's worth remembering. So we're going to describe the ridiculous stuff in this. The game isn't on the joke. It's not winking at you necessarily, but it knows this is funny. All the performances are really good. The visuals are funny, things that happen. One of the things that I really love is it reminds me of have you ever seen the Pee Wee Herman Christmas special?
Yes, I have.
You know how they keep cutting he keeps getting fruitcakes as a joke in that?
Yes.
And they keep cutting to two oily, beefcakes building a little room.
Yes.
And they're all oiled up, and then Pee Wee just looks at the camera a lot of times if there's a soldier in the background of this, they're wearing, instead of a uniform, they're wearing a harness.
Yeah.
They look really sexy, and they're just stacking boxes of ammo gruntily.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anytime that cuts to Tanya specifically is like it's beefcake time or cheesecake time.
You get both kinds of cake. There's obviously something for daddy, but there's also something for mommy or other daddies, or themies. There's something parenties. There's something for every flavor of the horny rainbow. You get a greased up person, and just doing little background business. Tanya, put this ammo in the stack, and now I'm flexing it. It's very funny. Let's call it some specific performances here. Mm-hmm. That we really like. We talked about the president.
Yes.
This is Ray Wise from Twin Peaks and Tim and Eric stuff.
Yeah.
Ray Wise, national treasure.
Just wonderful in everything. He's a very good actor at doing something incredibly stupid, but pretending it's very, very serious.
Well, and I've read interviews and stuff with Tim and Eric who talked about him on set, and that's how he works. He's just 100% a professional and just goes along with everything. And he has a quality of an actor I really like where he says yes to shit. Mm-hmm. So you get to have oh my God, that's Ray Wise moment quite a bit. And again, we mentioned this earlier, I have no idea what it's trying to say, but he's such a little pathetic, no, this wasn't what he agreed to. He's kind of like a Jimmy Stewart president.
Yes. Yeah, he is like you said, feckless. He's a little bit cowardly, but also just real happy to be president.
He means well. It is the happiest president I've ever seen. Presidents tend to be pretty sad.
Yeah, it's like ever since the movie Dave, I guess.
Yeah, everyone's like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be another King Ralph.
No.
The Soviet counterpart in the first game, at the very least, Nicholas Worth, who is Premier Romanov, also very funny. It's kind of like,
He's a cartoon, and it's delightful. And his eyebrows do most of the acting for him. It's the best.
We're in like Bill Barry levels of eyebrow, somewhere in the Barry Eugene Levy spectrum. And then we have Einstein, as we mentioned, real historical guy Einstein, who's a real fucking goofball. It sounds like he's doing like a man on the street, like put a gun to your head and be like, do an Einstein impression. Yeah. And he's just like, yeah, he's good time travel. You know, it's huge. Also a cartoon.
He's I think the one actor in the entire two game. Well, you know, if you count as two games, that gets replaced in between games. So there's a different Einstein in Command and Conquer Red Alert 2 than there is in Yuri's Revenge.
They're similar.
Both
Einsteins.
are good. Yeah, both are good in their own way, but they are different Einsteins.
Yes. They should do a kart racer where you can do all the Einsteins from the Red Alert series versus each other. Yeah. It's just called Yeah.
Just want to quickly also shout out Barry Corbin as General Carvel, who I think has spent his entire career being a general or something like that in everything he's been in. And 90s like sci-fi action heartthrob Kari Wurr as Tanya.
Tanya is great in this. Just a lot of hoo yeah. Kind of energy.
Yeah, and shake it, baby, which I still don't understand.
Her catchphrase, shake it, baby. Like you can say, infiltrate this building and blow it up. And she goes, shake it, baby. It's like Guy Fieri commenting in the back room of diners, drive-ins, and dives. Where somebody adds garlic to something and he just goes, shake and bake. Or he just says something like that. He's got little barks as well. And then Yuri is really good. I forgot the guy's name here. The guy who plays Yuri, though, is really fun.
He's delightfully, like, everyone else is over the top, and he is so under the top that it comes full circle.
Huge scheming vizier energy. In the first game, he's a scheming vizier, literally.
Yes.
The production values of this have, like, let's put on a show energy to me. It's not quite bad. Like, no budget. It's not like your friend did it. You know, but it's not that much better than like a porn set.
It is. It is a lot of like reusing the same sets, which is fine. And then there's cheesy things in the background that are supposed to look like computers that are clearly just like boards with light bulbs in them.
Yes.
You know, that sort of thing.
Really, really fun. These advance the plot. When you actually get to the game itself, again, not speaking for you, my take, I don't feel like the graphics in the game are anything really special. You know, it is readable, which is good. It's not super flashy, but the color palette, you think about the big RTS kind of pillars. Warcraft took fantasy, StarCraft took straight sci-fi, Command and Conquer took military, and because of that, there is a little bit of a drabness.
Even when you're in locations like Morocco or in one of the islands or something like that, it is still kind of a more, I guess, realistic, less vibrant color palette. You know, you're on yellow sand. It's not like sparkly and golden or anything. And that's, I guess it is a bit grounding, but it feels function over form.
Yes, which is probably good, right? It's just ultimately because they are so loud in the cutscenes, but it just ends up making it can be. I find it a little bit difficult sometimes to tell units apart. Individual units together. A lot of spiky tech tanks and a lot of like just little individual guys there. Let's talk soundtrack.
Yeah,
a big part of this game. This is a soundtrack that is composed. Most of the series primarily composed by Frank Klopacki. And this is like genre mashup stuff in like the truest sense of the word. This is kind of lots of genres. It's a little like techno-industrially, but with lots of electric guitars and synths and samples to kind of round it out.
Yeah, absolutely. And Frank Klepecki, it should be noted, started at Westwood at 17 years old
Good Lord.
doing orchestral stuff,
It,
which is incredible. Like I was that age when I was playing the games that he was making. So
yes, the Doogie Howser ass little guy. Just where do you get off, Frank Klepecki?
Who do you think you are?
Who do you
Frank?
think you are?
You in your lit jacket.
There's a picture of him I put in the notes just to have a picture of the guy, and he does look like he's in the band Lit. He looks a little bit like Scott Evil if Scott Evil joined Lit.
Yes.
You know?
That's it.
Yeah. So he specifically shout out to Hell March. Hell March is one of the best get pumped songs in games, I think.
Yeah.
Just an incredible tune. And again, if you wrote that at 17 or 18, like, what have I been doing with my entire life?
Yeah, he had his finger on the pulse of getting pumped as a 17-year-old. Like he was the right person to hire for that.
Yeah, he's super good. There's a version of Hell March in Command & Conquer Red Alert 2 as well that I would suggest Gwen use. That's really good. And you can find out so much more information about this guy. He has a website, and he has like a bunch of essays and interviews and stuff. He doesn't have a controversy page on his Wikipedia.
That's
so hell yeah.
Good. Or maybe he's just got a good PR team. Who knows?
Good for him in that case. The guy who was doing Command and Conquer music at 17, I can imagine being a good egg.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just a standard 2025 disclaimer. Like if there are allegations, I don't know them. Not necessarily endorsing this person, but you can find out a bunch of information about him. He is genuinely a cool guy, and again, really talented. He's done that. And then outside of like kind of the cutscenes and the in-game play, there are a bunch of little aesthetic touches during the game that are a delight.
Yeah, little fun things. Yes.
That kind of show how goofy this is. One of my favorites, if your units can kind of bivouac in civilian buildings there, and there's a tactical reason for this, but you get little aesthetic touches. So if you do this in a burger place, the little burger mascot gets a little like war beret. While you're in there, like the soldiers going up and kind of outfitting it. Yeah. So it represents.
Lots of little Easter eggs and things, especially in the earlier levels of Yuri's Revenge. For example, I think it's the second or third level. You go to Egypt and you can bivouac inside of a pyramid, and a little mummy runs out and attacks you.
He was bivouacking there.
Yes, it was. Yeah, exactly. You displaced him. It's very rude. And very
how the ancient pharaohs used to bivouac, like mad. Mm-hmm. It's great. It's just really, really cute. Again, signaling to the player like, don't take this super seriously.
Right.
Right.
I wanted to note that there's just like the loading screens, or maybe it's just the main menu screen. There's just like this. I think they're supposed to be like the Hulk type characters, that they're wearing these, they're shirtless guys wearing these big sci-fi visors that look like they're in some sort of a wannabe Devo cult standing in front of a giant laser. And it just is like, I'm like, oh, this is perfect. This is exactly what I'm looking for in a game.
Those are some of Yuri's special mutants, which again, kind of a bummer. We don't get to have a Yuri campaign. We just go up against Yuri in this.
Well, if you're feeling crazy, there are mods that created a Yuri campaign.
I know. That is very satisfying and tempting to me. We didn't really mention this. We're going to kind of talk about how Command & Conquer is different than most RTS games. One thing to note is there are more factions than just those three. There are like little sub-factions when you're playing multiplayer. So you can choose specific countries to play as within the Axis or Allies powers and get special units from them.
Yeah, like the Koreans have those like Black Falcon jets and stuff like that.
And because of the people who made this and the politics of the time, the Middle Eastern faction does use radiation.
Oh, jeez.
As well. So you get a little bit of that general steez. about how Command & Conquer is different than other RTS games. I don't know if I'm making an assumption here, but I assume because it is more popular and sold more people are familiar with Warcraft and StarCraft. So I'm kind of using that as a comparison point here to kind of highlight the gameplay differences.
Right.
Let's go through them.
Okay.
Yeah. First, instead of choosing your buildings and units directly, there's a little sidebar that organizes everything for you. You have a Newton, a PDA.
Yeah, instead of clicking on an individual building and then getting a pop-up at the bottom when you normally would, there's just a constant little sidebar that lets you select your buildings or your units or, there's like defensive and then there's regular buildings. I don't know exactly how to put those.
There are 4 categories. They're like humans, tanks, defensive buildings, and regular buildings. Mm-hmm. And once you click on them, it starts building them inside the sidebar, seemingly. And then once they're done, you can place them.
Yes.
There. Units don't have to do it. So you have worker units in this, you have resource gathering units, but they're not building anything for you. You just take care of that omnisciently.
That's right.
Yeah. And it's real quick. You don't have to find the barracks or anything like that. Like one of the things I like this as a system in RTS games. I want to build this thing. Where the hell is my, and it's Warcraft. So it's like, where's my Warlock Cove? There's like, this is the Eidolon visiting center that produces this kind of advanced unit, but the Warlock Cove does this advanced unit, and you have to kind of tell them apart, and they both just look like piles of sticks.
Yeah, and there's also the balance of having to pull a functioning peasant off of like your gold or your wood.
Yes.
In order to get them to build a building, so you're losing productivity in so doing. Yeah,
here they just kind of people can build themselves, buildings can build themselves.
Yeah,
it's very autodidact, and it's a nice ease of use feature, I think, for this.
As we mentioned with buildings, units are exactly the same way. You build your infantry and the vehicles in the sidebar. But this is where things get a little crazy, is that unlike in like an Age of Empires 2 or in StarCraft or Warcraft, you don't need to... The queue, or should I say the the units aren't limited by a queue based on the building. So you in your normal barracks in StarCraft, you can only build like 8 units or something like that at one time, and then you have to have a second barracks if you want to build more. In this, you can build as many as you want in a queue, and each time that you create a new barracks, all it does is speed up the production. And then you can make a default barracks that they all come out of.
Yes.
Which is a new interesting thing. So it's a little harder, I guess, if you wanted to fight a battle on 2 sides. But it's I think it's really easier for you to make forward operating bases this way, and then produce all your units closer to the enemy than all the way back at your main base and then send them all the way forward. Yeah,
you don't have to send waves quite as much. And this is good for territory control, which is something that I know I should be doing a lot more in RTSs, but I'm never super good at. You do need to do it, though. This is great.
Yeah.
When I'm making bases in this, I do take a little bit less care in this. When I make bases, because of this convenience, ordinarily when I'm playing another RTS, I put a lot of care into making a staging area to put my army together. Mm-hmm. So I'll kind of take my unit creating buildings and make a little bit of a semicircle. So like eventually all the tanks and people and warlock coves and shit spit out into this little place for my death ball to grow. Here you don't really have to do that as much. Since you can choose where everyone can come out of one barracks, but everyone can come out of a different thing. Your planes are going to come out of a different thing. Your tanks are going to come out of a different thing and such. It's kind of hard to tell why I pay less attention to it. I think it's kind of the other side of the sidebar.
Yeah. I mean, it's very set up for you to build a death ball because everyone just goes in the same spot. If you want your rocket guys and your dogs and your Tesla men all show up in the same spot because they all came from the same building.
Yeah, hang out and do whatever.
As opposed to, instead of having to clump them all together individually and then send them off, they're already ready to roll.
In addition to, this is something we didn't mention before, in addition to having no unit cap in terms of making them, there's also not a unit select cap that I could find.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it felt like I could basically select my whole army at any given time as well. That's a common thing. So again, they want you to do the death ball, it feels like. You do have your resource gathering units as well. These are interesting. These are asymmetrical, which doesn't usually happen. The Soviet ones can pick up more resources. The Allied ones can't pick up quite as many, but they can teleport back.
Right.
So they take up less time.
Yeah. That's a really cool little chronosphere ability that they have. Yeah.
Infuriating that teleportation is chrono and not time.
Right.
Yeah.
Somehow that's just how it works.
Yeah, it's chrono means teleportation.
Oh, before we get too far into resources, I did want to go back and talk about bases a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
That unlike a lot of other RTSs, you can't build anywhere. You need to have your bases either close to an MCV or another building that you have, or a specific type of building that you've captured. Like, you can't just go into a civilian building and then build next to it. You need to take like an oil derrick or I think a hospital or a service machine workshop or whatever it's called. Those you can build next to and you can start new bases. Otherwise, you have to build another SCV or not SCV.
Yeah, it's confusing. MCV, which is the thing that makes your main the heart of your base in this.
Your mobile command vehicle or whatever it is.
It's kind of like a deck. Like
it
kind of just rolls up and creates civilization.
And it doesn't do anything other than enable you to build other buildings, which is kind of fun. Yeah.
I love seeing it.
Yeah, the commander needs to sleep somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. It's a huge bedroom, basically. And there's probably like a basketball court and a bowling alley.
Sure.
A basketball cart isn't a thing. But even though that's a good sport. The
basketball carts are a real thing. That's where you saw them in gym class, and they'd have to bring all the basketballs out on the basketball cart.
Oh, okay. I was thinking of playing basketball on go-karts.
Well, that's whirly ball.
Okay, that's what I was thinking about is whirly ball. That sounds pretty sick. Your base, you don't have a unit limit. So like in a Warcraft or Starcraft, you create farms, basically. Same thing with Age of Empires. Here, you don't need that. Your people don't need to eat, but they need electricity. So you have to build power plants. And your base has a certain power requirement. This is interesting tactically. You can shut down somebody's base through this. So again, compare contrast to an Age of Empires or Starcraft, Warcraft. If you do the equivalent in those games, you can stop your opponent from making new units because they've hit the cap. Yeah. Here you can stop them from building anything, including more farms.
It can be very devastating, especially shutting down the power so that I think the Allies can't use the spy satellite anymore, and they can't see the map anymore, which is a huge advantage in that case, or disadvantage to lose that.
Yes, there's a lot of little tactical considerations if you do surgical strikes. We'll talk about that a little bit when we talk about the spy units as well. Yeah. So I never got as much use out of as I wanted to, even though they are undeniably cool.
Yeah,
they can do cool stuff. Not cool like that way.
Spying is cool.
Spying is, goddamn it, spying is cool.
Are we just going to turn this into a burn notice podcast real quick?
All of a sudden, you've been burn noticed. Welcome to Watch Out for Fireballs. If anyone asks what happened to Kay, she got burn noticed, unfortunately, and we had to. She had to take a week off.
I like the idea of also, I didn't think about it, but burn notice takes place in Miami, and that is a place where you would definitely notice a sunburn.
That is true.
It is funny.
Well, and Kay would be fucked as a red-haired lady, very weak to burn noticing.
Kay, I don't know where you're having your Kaycation, but I hope it's not Miami. And if it is, I hope you brought sunscreen.
Oh, yeah. In this game, you gather one resource. Yeah. You get money. And everything costs money. This simplifies the tech tree quite a bit. Again, contrast with other games where advanced units are kind of gated by specific resources. Yeah. You get Vespine gas or oil, wood, things like that. You're not micromanaging those things here. Instead, map control is important because you need to grab those resource rich areas to get more cash.
Yeah,
it's all cash. Everything is fungible.
Yeah, the closest thing to different resources is that crystals are worth more than
Yes.
the gold, I guess it is. Is it gold?
I assume it's gold or the US dollar.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, you can find big treasure hoards basically on the map, and you want to build near those and kind of jumpstart your economy there. As mentioned before, I make really big dumb death balls in this game. Part of this is there are many mechanics that encourage this. Everything being able to come out of the same place, not having a limit on your production of human units or to select, and everything being very fast. You make guys quickly in this.
You make guys quickly. They're squishy.
Super squishy.
Especially when they haven't gotten any promotions, which we'll get into.
Yes.
But standard units are pretty much just ready to be cannon fodder.
Ready to die, sometimes instantly by being run over by vehicles. And a very realistic, kind of concern in this. If you send infantry against the tank, it's not going to work out well, not just because of the rock, paper, scissors design inherent in most RTS games, but also because they get run over. You get fucking Tiananmen squared, which would happen in real life. I can't go up against a tank.
No. Well, since you mentioned tanks, though, Gary, I think it's important that I bring up the first of the Garrities that I've had prepared for you.
Excellent.
To reference the wonderful C&C Music Factory. Tanks are things that go boom. Tanks are things that go boom. Tanks are things that go boom, boom, boom. So there you go.
It's true, folks. So we mentioned that rock, paper, scissors design. We're going to talk about unit promotion here in a second. This is very common in RTS games. In Command and Conquer, because everything is so squishy, it feels like these are all really hard counters.
Yes.
Everything kills things instantly. Vehicles instantly run over people.
Yeah.
Dogs can instantly kill infantry.
Yeah, and so many times I would have a group of the Rocketeers, just destroying everything, and then they would get too close to a SAM site or something like that, and then they would all be dead in a second.
Instantly. The effect this had for me when I was playing was made me have to save scum a lot.
Yeah.
It was hard for me to bounce back if I fucked up an attack. Part of that's my own strategic weakness, putting all my eggs in one death ball.
Yeah.
But part of it is just that kind of quickness to this. It's fast and lethal, the combat in this, in a way I wasn't totally used to. I didn't mind riding the save scum because I play old PC games and I don't mind doing that. But it was, what do you think of that as like an aspect of this in the genre?
Yeah, there were definitely most of the, how should I put this? I saved immediately after the cutscene every time because I learned that I would usually have to restart the level at some point. And I didn't mind having to go all the way in the back and playing it over. That was fine with me. But there definitely were I've overcommitted and now I'm done, or I didn't expect them to bring in Kirkovs here and now I have no air defense, and those things are like flying tanks and I'm screwed.
Yeah, there's literally no counter. It's kind of hard to improv in this game, I found. So we talked about that rock, paper, scissors, tanks, air units, infantry. And units are good against one and weak against another. There's a little bit of hybridization. It's not quite that simple, but generally that's true. The special units in this require a lot of micromanagement, like all RTSs. It's not so much that they have tons of individual abilities, though.
Yeah.
In StarCraft, you'd have special, or Warcraft, you've had special units that are kind of like hero units. They would have a bunch of special powers. Here, it's more deploying the unit where they're effective to put the rock where the scissors are.
Yeah. And it can get a little fiddly. Like you could have an entire group of infantry, and if you're using the GIs, if you're playing as the allies, they all have the ability to bunker, to hunker down. But they will do it at a slightly different timing. So it's
Yes.
easy to have some of them hunkered and some of them not. And then you're kind of doing this like little dance of getting them to stand up and sit down over and over again.
Like they're playing Metal Gear Solid 2.
Yes.
Laying down and everything. And then you get into clicking in, a big pile of units, kind of a pixel hunt for the person who's still standing there. It requires a little bit of that micromanagement. Let's talk about spies a little bit.
Yeah.
Spies, I think, are one of the more complicated units in an RTS. Specifically command and conquer spies. They have context-dependent abilities rather than you going through a menu. Depending on what building you put a spy in, they will do different things.
So when they come out, when you first get them, they are camouflaged as one of your own units, but then you can select another unit on the other side to have them camouflage, and then that's how they sneak in. But they are hard countered by dogs.
Dogs will not trust them. Yeah, psychics and dogs can tell when there's a spy. And remember, dogs kill infantry in one hit like dogs in real life.
Yeah.
So it's hard to get them in. Once you get them in, depending on what building you put them in, you can do a pretty shocking array of things. I love if you go into their, if you go into their refinery, you can take half their money.
Yeah.
Half. It's hard to pull off. And when I pulled it off, so it ended up being fiddly, and I didn't end up doing it as much as I wanted to, even though I thought it was cool.
Yeah, they are expensive.
There's a lot of. They're very expensive, and they die in one hit to things. My understanding is in the meta, they're basically useless against humans. There's not, nobody uses them. You can only fool the computer with them there. Engineers are also really neat.
Yes.
One of the, kind of a mechanic of this game are bridges. You can use engineers to blow up bridges and rebuild bridges, and you can kind of create different choke points. Based on this, one of the things you'll have to do, this bridge is a way to get into my base. I'm going to blow it up to slow the enemy down. They're going to have to bring an engineer if they're going to want to try to get over this.
Yeah, it's really fun to also have that back and forth where you're constantly sending streams of engineers to blow up and rebuild the same bridge.
What an exciting day for that bridge.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Another fun thing about engineers is that you can use it to capture other army's buildings, which means if you capture a barracks or a tank yard or whatever it's called, you're able to build their units.
Yeah, and that this is your third unit you can create basically as engineers. Think about how high that is up on the tech tree in other RTSs. Being able to subvert enemy bases. Here it is a basic feature of it. Yeah. Huge high risk, huge high reward, contributing kind of the feel of this of being a real all or nothing fast RTS, I'd say. We talked about units leveling up. All units level up in this. You'd have kind of amateur ones, and then if they survive, they get better in this. I like the idea of this, but I never figured out a good way to take advantage of this.
Yeah.
I would have, send in my army. If my army survived the skirmish, several of them would level up, and that army was slightly better. But I wasn't sorting my guys into veterans and newbies or training anyone, or anything like that. It just kind of some of my units were better than other ones.
Yeah, it is kind of a thing that either happens naturally or in some cases you can set up, choke points and you can have those people level in. And if you really wanted to, you could rotate them with new people to get that going. I just got enough apocalypse tanks that when they were level 4, they're basically indestructible.
Yes.
And that is all that mattered.
Exactly. My death ball got big and I used all the best parts of the death ball. And then the death ball leveled up into death ball plus.
Yeah.
When it would survive. There are cool things you can do with that system that I'm sure that people who are smarter at this game than I am used. Yeah. But I couldn't really figure it out.
And there are only other way to get promotions is that there are sometimes hidden crates, or there'll be objective related crates that will show up. And as long as you have a unit run over them, they can promote the unit or improve their attack or defense or just give you some money. It's a little nice little bonus, kind of like you would see in Warcraft 3 when you're attacking, the neutral mobs when you're playing the game.
Well, that and going out and finding the gem stashes. There's a little bit of that, head out and explore the map.
Yeah.
Not just to know what your opponent's doing, but to get the lay of the land and find out where resources are in, like Saginaw. Because a lot of these places you're just fighting in, parts of the United States.
Yes.
There are hero units of a sort in this. For me, these were cool, but a little bit of a liability because you fail the mission if they die. You're oftentimes given a mission with them kind of starting out, something for them to do, but then I would put them back in my base to make sure they didn't die. Then they usually will copy another unit, not always, but like, for example, the Allied special unit often is Tanya. Eventually you get Navy SEALs, which act as Tanya clones, basically.
Yeah, not quite as powerful. Yeah.
Yeah. Shake it, adult. Shake it, soldier. Yeah.
Twist it as well,
Twisted
maybe. Yeah. Yuri's Revenge is a lot more generous with that than the base game. If Tanya dies in the first mission or Boris dies in the first mission, they kind of like give you when Tanya dies, you get like a little cutscene where she's being carried away by medics with a bandage on her head the first time. But there are like hard stops as well.
Yes. Yeah. And it's not, they don't have as many powers or abilities as they do in a Warcraft or Starcraft, where you're going to be kind of piloting them primarily.
Right.
In my experience, they're not there to lead your armies. They're there to help prep the field and get you ready to create the army.
Right.
Is kind of how I played with them. Red Alert has asymmetry, not quite as hard as Starcraft does. But the two different factions you can play as and the Yuri faction you can play as a multiplayer are all very different. One of the big differences is their super weapons.
That's right.
These are a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. They range from the Chronosphere, which allows you to basically teleport, to just a standard nuke, to a thing that turns infantry into monsters.
Into super monsters, yeah. Weather control devices, all the cool mad science shit.
So I'm glad we're talking about superpowers because, Gary, we have a Pokemon-based FMK style game called Iron Curtain Chronosphere Psychic Dominator. And I need you to tell me which of these three Pokemon you would either Iron Curtain, Chronosphere, or Psychic Dominate.
Okay.
And it is Starmie, Beerabel, and Yamask.
Okay. I have to look up Beerabel.
Yeah, Beerabel is the Bidoof. Bidoof
it's a horrible
evolution.
thing to say.
Yeah.
Beerabel is the Bidoof.
Sorry, Beerabel, you are the Bidoof.
You're the Bidoofiest
situation.
Oh, hey, look at that guy. That looks a lot like a regular Bidoof.
Yeah.
Starmie, and then the third one was whom?
Yamask.
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 I just put in Porkamon on accident. All spoinks. Okay, this scary guy.
Yeah.
And my options are Iron Curtain, Chronosphere, and
Psychic Dominator.
Psychic Dominator. I feel like Psychic Dominating the Bidoof evolution would be a waste of psychic power.
Yes.
It looks like it's already psychically dominated before I even got there. Yeah. So I might Psychic Dominate Yamask because I'm scared of Yamask.
It does. Psychic is a hard counter to Ghost type, right?
Yes.
So there you go.
And I don't want Yamask to get me, so I could Psychic Dominate it the hell out of here. Send it away. I think at that point I would also Iron Curtain Starmie.
Okay.
Because it has an alien intelligence, being a sea creature.
Yeah.
I would like to keep that away as well. And then I would Chronosphere the Bidoof evolution directly into my arms.
The Bidoof evolution probably weighs like 90 pounds too.
Yep.
Like
I could handle it. It'd be like hugging a mastiff. I've done it before and I'll do it again.
Yep.
So I think that is what I would do. And that is, of course, our famous segment. Iron Curtain, Chronosphere.
Psychic Dominator.
Psychic Dominator. I'm going to keep forgetting that one. I don't know why.
It's okay. It's a lot wordier than FMK or Seven Mary 3.
Mary 3, which is very elegant. These are all references to Teenage Dirtbags, the podcast you should listen to. Part of the Duckfeed archives. If you like me and Brayden, is there something you can listen to now? No. But you can listen to the old shows, and they're good.
Yeah.
There's aquatics in this. You go through water as well. I was surprised by how viable sea assaults could be.
Yeah.
In this, just bringing a navy and attacking the land. Each unit or each side gets wacky units, and the Soviets have such a clear advantage here. Getting these Kraken or Julius Squeezers that are going to the water. And this kind of leads to I don't know exactly the word for it, but like where you're not being proactive, you're just countering.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So like I have dolphins. The reason why I have dolphins is because I want to detect things. It's not because I want to use them. I just need to have some dolphins hang out with my ships.
Right, and then you
to look
need
for
to
the
have
Julius
your
Squeezers.
Yeah, you have to have your anti-air boats in order to counter missile attacks, but it's also the aquatic units are the only like artillery that the Allies get.
Yes.
So that's kind of a nice treat to have those available.
The asymmetry between the sides in this is really interesting. Mm-hmm. It's much more subtle, I think, than Warcraft or Starcraft. Mm-hmm. Or at least the later Warcrafts. Like early Warcrafts, the orcs and humans were very similar.
Yeah.
There. So basically a mission. Rather than going through each mission by to play, we're going to call it highlights later. This is how I would approach a mission. Here is I would do whatever the initial task was. They would tell you to do something, grab a building, infiltrate a small base, set up camp. I'd make some dogs.
Yeah.
One would stay in the base to look out for spies and stuff and take out any infantry. And then I would send out some dogs to scout for me.
Yeah.
Try to see if I can find where the enemy base was so I can keep an eye on them. Then I would turtle the shit up. I make really defensive bases in this game.
Yeah.
Once my base, this is really easy with the Allies. I think they're a little stronger defensively, at least until you start unlocking Tesla coils.
Yeah.
Once my base was safe, I'd start building the Death Ball, mostly tanks with anti-air stuff. And then to soften up my enemy, I would do bombing runs sometimes. The way that your Harrier jets work, at least as the Allies in this, you get 4 of them per airfield, and then you can send them to blow up a building, and they just do runs on it.
Yeah.
So if it's protected by anti-air, you can maybe lose a jet, but you can sometimes take out a building or really soften up a building. And then I would send in my guys.
Yeah, really good for taking out their like ground defense.
Yes.
If they have static ground defense, it's easy to just fly those in, blow them up, get out before anything happens. But they are fragile. So.
Yes. Oh, big time. Like they are the weakest jets I've ever seen in my life. I feel like real jets are probably significantly stronger than that. How did your general flow? Did that comport with your experience of playing a mission in Yuri's Revenge?
Yeah, pretty similar. It was basically get out some dogs so you can scout, look for the alternate resources, usually like the oil derricks or something like that, and try to set up a defense around them. And then counter whatever I could until it started. It looked like it's kind of whatever I could. Took as many resources as I could so that the enemy didn't have them anymore. Mm-hmm. And then when they ran out, I would come in and smash their base. That is often what happened. There's a few missions in particular where you can do something different, and you can rush them or something like that. But yeah, it is a bit like defend until you can have the advantage.
Yeah, it's a little formulaic. It's still fun. Like I like this game a lot. We didn't talk about that. I think these games are fun. It is satisfying to do as long as kind of where I come down on this. As long as you're okay with that quick save kind of discipline, or being okay restarting missions, because trying a rush tactic in this felt extremely risky.
Yeah.
Riskier than other similar games in the genre. Let's talk a little bit about how the different factions work in this. In a general sense, to me, the Allies have better infantry and cheaper tanks.
Yes.
And the Soviets have worse infantry that's cheaper, but better tanks.
Yeah, exactly. Things seem cheaper for the cheaper and faster for infantry for sure for the Soviets.
Yes.
But the tanks, chef's kiss.
Yes, much better, but more expensive. So that's kind of how it balances before you put in like the unique units and super weapons. The Soviet units get Tesla coils and Tesla troopers.
Yeah.
This is my favorite little mini mechanic in the game. It is a really fun defensive structure, and there's a nice little detail. Your Tesla troopers can empower your Tesla coils.
Yeah.
Both in terms of making them better, but also powering them up if your power gets cut. That creates a lot of really cool dramatic moments because that's your defense. The times I was able to kind of crawl back from the brink, a lot of times that's what happened.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely see that. On the other hand, the Allies get the prism towers and prism tanks, and those are like the more you have, the better they are.
Yes.
And they can be very powerful, especially the prism tanks have the unique ability to shoot over walls that most other things are not able to do.
Yeah, they use super light to do this. The Yuri faction, which you can play as in the multiplayer or custom campaigns, are most analogous to like the Protoss in that things are very expensive but very specialized and cool, and a huge focus on mind controlling your other units.
Yeah, it's definitely more micro.
Yes.
Required, but it's so fun to it's the same in Age of Empires 2 when you would just send a squad of monks into someone else's base and take over all their units and then laugh.
Like
it's
religious
the
victory
feeling. Yeah.
It's really cool. It ends up becoming a little bit of that dolphin problem when you are facing them, where it's just have some dogs, have some spy detecting units.
Right.
Or psychic immune things, around with you all the time, because it's not because you are being offensive or proactive. It's because you need to have a countermeasure specifically to this thing.
Yeah. Often having to creep if you're playing as the Allies, creep it with the I'm suddenly forgetting the microwave tanks.
Yeah, the robot tank. There's a tank that doesn't have a brain.
Not them. I was thinking of the ones that are anti-infantry tanks.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah,
the ones that can conceal themselves.
Yes. Oh, yeah. The ones that can turn to a tree.
Yes.
The ones that can do the Dark Souls disguise. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing here but us trees.
Mirage tanks. Like the
Mirage tanks. There we go. You have to kind of creep along because if they start taking over your shit, that's a huge deal. Here. I remember what I called that. I used to call that problem the safety bit problem after Final Fantasy.
Okay.
In Final Fantasy games, you get an accessory called a safety bit that made you immune to death. And what would happen is you, not dying, but like the death status effect. Yeah. Not like how I'm immune to death in real life. So you would have to go into a dungeon. The concept of the dungeon is everyone's casting death. You'd have to put on a safety bit to avoid that. But since it was mandatory, it ended up becoming just like losing an accessory slot.
Right.
It didn't feel strategic or anything. It just kind of felt like, oh, okay, now I had to wear this jacket.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like that. Like, oh, I'm going up against mind control. I have to either be super creepy or I have to send in specific units that can't be mind controlled. Or I have to, it wasn't a thing where I felt proactive.
Right.
About it.
Right.
Anything else about unit differences and stuff before we start kind of summarizing the series story?
No, I think we're in a good place. I think more of that's going to come out when we talk about the actual story. Yeah.
Yes. Before we get into that, I wanted to ask you about some individual units and have you sort them into hotties and naughties, Noddie, aka from the Empire of Nod.
Yeah.
From the early Command and Conquers.
Yeah.
Let's make it easy. Let's go Mirage Tank. Hottie or naughty?
I'm going to say that one is a naughty for me.
That's a naughty.
That's a naughty. Sorry.
That's just the T. How about the IVF?
The IVF. Oh, God. That is also... when I first played, the IVF was very much a naughty, but later I learned that having two of them with engineers on them behind your units basically saved all their lives. So it turned into hotties.
It's like the movie From the Naughty to the Hottie, or whatever that movie's called.
Oh, yeah. I was thinking She's All That or something.
Oh, yeah. And then we cut to she, and it's a tank.
Yeah.
That's my girl. She's all that. How about a Crazy Ivan?
Crazy Ivan, I didn't. It was a fiddly unit, and I hardly ever used them. So a naughty for me. What are your thoughts?
Pretty much lined up. I didn't get as much use out of the Mirage tank. That's a little bit more of a naughty to me.
Yeah.
Or you said that was a naughty as well.
Yeah,
I think I'm with you in this. And that's been hottie or naughty. So we're going to go through the story of the series just so we can see the context here. We're not camping out for a long time, so don't worry. This isn't going to be a million years long. Just giving you the basics here. Red Alert 1. Yeah. So basically the thing that sets everything off is Einstein goes back in time, shakes Hitler's hand, and kills him. This erases Hitler from the timeline.
Because he is a famous germaphobe, right?
Yes. I think it just fucks up history so he doesn't become a Hitler. Through that. I mean, he might give him a germ. I can't remember. I haven't played Command & Conquer 1 in a long time.
Yeah.
Or Red Alert 1 in a long time. This game, because there are no Nazis, the Soviets go crazy. We get the super USSR. They take over China under Stalin. And the player is controlling an Allied resistance for the Allied campaign. You siege Moscow. We end up at the end of this, we find Stalin. He's buried alive under the Kremlin, but a Soviet general comes out and says, no, leave him for dead there. And it's a little bit of a twist because the first Red Alert was going to tie into the Tiberian series before they decided to make them a spinoff there. The Soviet ending, the Soviets take Buckingham Palace. Stalin gets poisoned by Nadia, who's working for the Brotherhood of Nod, as we mentioned, the consummate Noddies.
I mean, that makes sense. Her name is Nadia.
Her name is Nadia. Yeah, that's true. The lady form of Nod. This doesn't set up Red Alert 2, basically, a little bit. They were going to have these be combined and all be one series. They backed off of that, decided to make this its own thing. In Red Alert 2, it's presumed the Allies have won. They've installed a puppet ruler, Alexander Romanov, a relative of Tsar Nicholas II. And but he has a change of heart. He decides to stage an attack in the United States. It's really great. Ray Wise is like, "Come on, Romanov, what are you doing? Don't do this." And he decides to retaliate with nukes. But Yuri pops up and mind controls the silo operators.
Yeah,
we're in trouble.
And throughout, mind controls the rest of the leadership in the United States, and they're all just kicking back and chilling. It's really great.
It seems like bliss. I'm not trying to sound like too much of a cuck for communism in this, but with current things now, I'm just I don't know, man. I'll take it.
Give somebody else a chance. Why not?
Yeah, we tried. The thing we tried didn't work. So in the Allied campaign for this, we get teamed up with Tanya. Shake It Baby, to repel an invasion. The Soviets put up a psychic beacon in D.C. This is when the president surrenders and gets real chill. That kind of turns into a hippie. We free him. We set up in Canada and they try to psychically control the whole country at this point. We stop them from doing that. They nuke the United States, and we have to team up with France, Germany, and the UK. I love this scene in Red Alert 2 where you have the little fakey Thatcher. Everybody?
Yeah, it's great. Everyone is a cartoon. It's perfect.
It's really good. And Einstein, who's on our side, invents the chronosphere, which fucking teleports people, doesn't do anything with time. And we have to defend him while he eventually beams people to Moscow, and Tanya and her people take out the Soviets.
And can I just add in that this is the ending of the Ally campaign for Red Alert 2 is basically a recreation. This is a precursor to Abu Ghraib. Like, it is pulling down the premier's pants and taking pictures of him in his office for tabloids. And it is played as a joke. It's funny, but it was also like in later historical context, this feels real awkward.
It's how cartoony you can get right up to the edge with going up against real life shit. This game is fucking fascinating 30 years later. To think about in most ways. The Soviet campaign, you invade the United States. Yuri is kind of our vizier. At one point when you invade Europe, you turn the Eiffel Tower into a Tesla coil.
Brilliant.
That rules. And Yuri is obviously mind controlling Romanov. So Yuri gets control of the military, and there's a little bit of a splinter. Here, there's a general, Vladimir, who realizes things are off, but he gets blamed for Romanov's death. We capture the United States. We capture their weather control weapon. But and Yuri invites us into his parlor. However, Lieutenant Zovia, who is kind of the Russian Tanya, finds a recording of Romanov saying that Yuri has been mind controlling him. Yeah. So we eventually, as the Soviets attack Moscow and kill Yuri, unfortunately, Yuri cannot be killed in a way that matters. He has a brain floating in a jar. He eventually gets cloned into being a real guy for Yuri's revenge.
Yeah, it's pretty great. This one, the Soviet campaign is fun because it is a lot of like shifting alliances. Like at first you're working with the Soviets, and then you're finding out that you have a rivalry with Vladimir, and then you're working with Yuri, then you're against Yuri. It's a lot of twists and turns, and it's kind of fun.
It's really in terms of viziers who are obviously evil. Would you trust Yuri or Wormtongue?
Oh, God.
Easily. You have to trust one of them. You can't say neither.
Yuri, I think, probably over Wormtongue. Wormtongue seems like Yuri is pretty upfront about what his end goal is, and I don't actually know what Wormtongue's end goal is, even now.
Yeah, and also I'm going to go as far as say Wormtongue is always wet. For some reason. Like, Yuri at least seems like he would smell either neutral or like Dark Enlightenment YouTuber cologne.
Yeah, like pipe smoke.
Yeah. Maybe pipe smoke. Whereas like Wormtongue's got like a mildew smell to him, I think.
He probably only eats hard-boiled eggs, like that sort of a thing.
Yes. And even though it's Middle Earth, he gets them from gas stations somehow. Like it's entirely gas station and hard-boiled eggs with a pepper packet. Gross. Yeah. This leads us into Yuri's revenge. Yuri's back. He's been busy between games. He's got the Soviet psychic core. He's going to take over the world, and he's built psychic dominators all over. He has a primary one on Alcatraz, which we try to destroy, but he turns on the rest, unfortunately.
Which is that lovely trope where like the Golden Gate Bridge is like one of America's only like landmarks that continually show up in media. Like you just have to have the Golden Gate Bridge there and be destroyed. Like it just has to be there.
It's a little bit like it has this in common with the Rampage games. A little bit. This sets up the Ally campaign. We go to San Francisco to protect the time machine here because we're going to go stop the Dominators from ever being built here. Yeah. So we go back in time to when the Soviets are first invading San Francisco. We take out the Alcatraz Dominator, but we still have to take out the rest of Yuri's stuff. Yeah. So we go to L.A. Yuri is slaughtering people. I love this thing.
With the grinder.
Yeah, the grinder, which is just a big thing you put anything into, and it creates materials for units.
Yeah. And there's some sort of a subliminal message being sent out, and you can hear it in the background. And they say something about Soylent Green. I didn't catch what it was exactly, but they reference Soylent Green in this stage, which is very funny.
You could the grinder turns anything into anything. It is sick. He's in Hollywood, and he's just taking civilians and grinding them up. But celebrities help us out here. The general comes and says, some of these celebrities are actually pretty well armed. In the original version of this game, they were impersonations of Arnold Schwarzenegger, Stallone and stuff. In later versions, they got in trouble for that, so they replaced them with generic grunts. Sadly.
It's unfortunate because the voices were pretty funny.
It's pretty fun.
Yeah.
A guy who's kind of a Bill Gates, who works for Massive Soft up in Seattle, tells us that Yuri has captured his campus. So we have to go free them.
Yeah, he asks for help. It is really well guarded, but eventually, if you can get in there, he gives you a bunch of money, which is very amusing to me. That he could have done this before, and
it's true.
And then you probably wouldn't have had to worry about getting captured in the first place. So take that, billionaires.
Yeah, stupid Bill Gates. Yuri kidnaps Einstein, forces him to work on a super psychic dominator that's in the Great Pyramid of Egypt.
Yes.
Here, which is pretty funny.
Again, I love this level because there's 2 Easter eggs in it, but also Einstein will continually go, "Won't someone come rescue me?" Is no one coming to rescue me?
For Einstein, yeah.
But yeah, there's the mummy when you bivouac in the first little
pyramid.
Little pyramid, and then also if you go all the way up and around to the northwest corner of the map, there are these 3 little stones, and if you put a unit on each, you get 3 T-Rexes that just show up.
Phenomenal.
Yeah,
the T-Rexes would really tip the Allies. Powers here into this. We free Einstein from here, and he's a good guy, so he sabotages the Dominator. We attack Yuri's cloning facility in Sydney and reveal his plan. He's going to kill world leaders and replace them with mind-controlled clones.
Yeah.
There.
Oh, yeah. And Yuri uses his telephone during the cutscene to find out where the world leaders are going.
Yes.
He calls I don't know, our lieutenant, who I don't know if she ever gets a name.
No, she shows up in the end.
Yes.
There. So the world leaders are going to do a peace treaty, like the Soviets and the Allies and the Europeans, and everyone's going to unite against Yuri. But Yuri figures out where the building is.
Yeah.
And attacks it.
He does it by introducing the second C&C Music Factory Garrity.
Yes.
You're in a psychic trance now.
Command and Conquer Music Factory. Love it.
Yes.
C&C Music Factory Red Alert.
Yes.
Yeah, very good. We track his transmission back. He's got an Antarctic base. I love how that's not enough, because in the next section he ends up in a moon base.
Yeah.
We take him and we put him in a psychic isolation chamber, kind of a Magneto jail, where the general's like, he couldn't mind control a fly.
Yeah, it is so over the top cruel. Like, why don't you just, we're going to put him in this tube where he's not allowed to interact with anyone until he dies. The end.
I don't know why you wouldn't execute him. I guess because he might have a brain in a jar, and that starts the Yuri protocols and he births another clone.
Yeah.
Unless I missed something, or there's a novel between them, I do not know how he got from brain in a jar to having psychic dominators everywhere in the world.
I don't know either. Maybe there is a novelization of what happens, but
it'd be a good novelization. Like Einstein would be there. After we do this, after we put him in the torture chamber, the timelines merge. And now, because the timelines merge, we get a little bit of something for Daddy. Tanya and the Russian Tanya both kind of want to date with us.
Oh, that's not the Russian Tanya. That's the
our secretary. Yeah, you're right. You're our lieutenant. Thank you. And there's a little bit of we can use the time machine to go back in time and date them both.
Yeah. And Tanya is clearly, she's basically what you win in the first game. So she's upset when she has a rival in the second.
Yes.
Or I should say in the expansion.
You got to have a little bit of a Kingsman energy of grossness because of 90s and early 2000s and stuff where you win women. For things, even though it does introduce what would Cheers have been like differently if he had access to a time machine, because I feel like Sam could have dated both Diane and Rebecca easily.
Yeah.
Or a
he just had
chronosphere.
to get there to actually have been a crossover.
Yes, or if you had a weather control device. Dan,
just
I can't
make a snowstorm, and it's just Sam and Rebecca and everybody just stuck together, and suddenly love blooms.
Yeah, love blooms, and you can kind of just snowstorms chase them around. The Soviet branch here, the Soviets have captured an Allied time machine. They try to use it, but it fucks up, and you get sent to the Cretaceous period.
I love, it's not even that it fucks up. It is that the Soviet engineers are too good at repairing the power stations that they increase the power too much. So they go back to the Cretaceous period.
I love the time travel logic of more power equal more back in time.
Yeah, loss of total control. But you are, there's another little Easter egg in here that you can send your little, what's the word I'm looking for? Your little hovercraft out to go grab a T-Rex that is also in the top left corner of the screen. And when you travel back, you bring the T-Rex with you to fight in the future.
Phenomenal. Jurassic Park 2. Really, really great. We go back to the present time. We stop the chronosphere. Take out the chronosphere, rather. So the Allies can't win Red Alert 2. That's how they zapped in.
Yeah. One quick other note is that at the beginning of this level, you can you get Boris, who is the Tanya equivalent. Yes. Boris can die, and then you can go back in time, and when you come back, he's back to being alive again. There's a little special conversation between Sophia and Boris, and then you can have him die again. And it's really just hilarious that it's just a total waste.
Fuck that guy in particular.
Yeah.
Boris, his unit, Tanya, our champion unit, can swim and blow up buildings. Boris can call in airstrikes.
Yeah.
Which is satisfying, but hard to use in the heat of battle because you have to keep him safe, or you want to keep him safe. Again, not end the game if he dies, but so now we can focus on Yuri. It's Soviets versus Yuris. Yuri has occupied London with all of his mind-controlled forces, and he starts harvesting people like he does. So we have to stop that. We find out he has a spacecraft that is programmed to go to the moon. That's going to be his final base. I love the escalation from Antarctic base to moon base.
This is where I had trouble with the timeline, because if it's supposed to be in the 50s, the lunar lander is an Easter egg on the moon.
Yes.
So that wouldn't have happened unless somehow this space program went faster because there wasn't Hitler.
There wasn't a Hitler. Hitler spent a lot of time pranking. And something called Das Skunk Works, where he would go to science programs and people would be doing equations and he would shout out random numbers.
Yeah, all he does is just lean in and go, "Oh, is that for never?"
You forgot the remainder. Or they're trying to do numbers that he was going dry, and they're like, "No, it's not. Yeah. Fuck, I lost my place." Yeah. And then space program doesn't happen. So him shaking Einstein's hand, fix that. Okay. Good for him. Good for Einstein.
Yeah. We go to the one place that capitalism hasn't corrupted. Space.
And take out Yuri's bases. Yuri can't corrupt it. We gotta take it over. Yuri, however, is in his ancestral home of Transylvania.
Of course.
I fucking love that. Again, the escalation from Antarctica to moon to Transylvania is very funny. He has kind of a mixed grill of both units. This is a cool gameplay thing. Him having Allied and Soviet Union forces to fight together. Pretty neat.
Yeah, I found this to be this was a real tough last
super
battle.
Tough. Yeah, really tough. Riding that quick save. The expansion generally is a lot harder than the main game, which was also really similar for RTSs of the time. Yeah. Playing the expansion for StarCraft, I remember that. I just don't think I've beaten that. That is very difficult.
Yeah.
So we take him out at this point. He tries to use a time machine, but Lieutenant Zofia interrupts him and adds too much Soviet power to the time machine, which makes him go back in time to dinosaur times, but doesn't have enough power to travel back. And he gets eaten by a T-Rex.
Yes. Delightful.
Live by the sword, die by the sword.
Yeah.
And then communism takes over the world, and the Soviets do create a space program to go into the last place untouched by capitalism.
Yeah, it is a little, in comparison to the other ending, it is a little disappointing because it just is kind of like a little newsreel of this communism takes over the world. Hey, everybody, say hello to your new friend, comrade.
It is very much that. And then it sets up for the third one where they go into space.
And they go into space. Perfect. Exactly how it should be.
Really, really good. We talked a little bit about units that were really, good, kind of memorable moments in the story for me. The dinosaurs, anything with the dinosaurs is great. I love the grinder. The infantry fighting vehicle is a unit that is gameplay worth calling out. I think we mentioned that before, the IFV. It is a vehicle that is okay on its own, but changes forms depending on who you put in it, or just to make an even dozen bivouac.
Yeah.
In it. This is, if you like the word bivouac, you will like this podcast.
Yeah. Did you not know the word bivouac? Now you do.
Yeah, you do. This is definitely the most we've said bivouac in a Duckfeed show. This is the kind of thing I get away with. Kay's not here.
Yeah.
If I was saying,
notoriously anti-bivouac.
If I had said bivouac this many times, Kay would give me so much shit. But it's only with your old true friends that you're allowed to say bivouac this many times. Yeah. But the vehicle changes depending on what you put in it. So it's like very versatile. You mentioned earlier putting engineers in it. This allows them to repair vehicles.
Yeah.
And it's really
helpful.
good. Yeah, it's super good. This game doesn't have a medic unit, like a StarCraft does. You have to either do that or you have to have building upgrades that can eventually repair
either
units.
You can get the service depot where you can bring your own vehicles, but there's nothing that heals infantry unless you can capture a hospital in the level. And then that will automatically slowly heal your allies. I don't know exactly at what rate. I guess I never really looked into it.
I think it's pretty slow. And again, that feels like a weird kind of disagreement because combat is so deadly. Like pulling away my group to heal feels difficult, but that could be a skill issue. What are some kind of highlight things for you?
Well, I wanted to say that I was a little disappointed there wasn't a Yuri campaign, but that is fine,
Yes.
You had limited access to things like the sniper. I think there's only one level where you can get a desolator, which is one of my favorite Soviet units, and it's just a guy who sprays radiation.
Yes.
Like he has a radiation gunk gun, basically, and is also kind of a sniper because he has a long range. The Soviet ending, like I said, a little bit lackluster compared to the Allies, but I loved Yuri as a character. Was so fun and so stupid. And there's just in the Ally campaign, you get to hear his like subliminal message.
Yes.
And it ends with, "I'm Yuri, obey me," but it sounds like he goes, "I'm Yuri, oh baby," and I love that little like he's pillow talking me. Like that is a subliminal message.
Baby, I'm Yuri.
Baby.
Come, I'm Yuri. I'm Yuri, baby.
I'm your psychic fly, sugar, baby.
Sugar, Yuri. It also sounded a little bit like he's saying, "I'm Yuri Obama."
Oh yeah,
which feels like that's a whole political can of worms we don't want to open.
Yeah, and because Yuri is a first name, so like it's very funny that he's like Cher, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. That's how it is in Transylvania.
Yeah, you just need the one name if you're famous enough. But it was the FMVs were all great. The fact that like time travel is a thing and no one bats an eye. Like
nope.
Like General Carvel comes back from the dead and everyone is just like, he's just like, boy, it's really confusing to think about how things that happened in the future haven't happened yet because I died and came back. Oh, well. Yeah.
Oh, well, time to do. I also like how it happens immediately after Tanya hints at it. Like there's a part where she's like, you might be seeing an old friend soon. Wink. And then he immediately comes back. He's like, well, It's great.
And it's, there's just little things from playing it. Even like background actors were carried over from one game to the next. And it makes me wonder if they really filmed them both at the same time and they always planned on doing an expansion. But I don't understand like that timing of PC gaming. Like were expansions expected? Like were they common?
Generally, if things were successful, and these games were very successful.
Yeah.
So it was considered, it's somewhere between DLC and now. It wasn't a thing where they would plan like day one or on disc DLC, is my understanding. I don't think that they did that. So, it makes me think that they probably did get those people back because they might not have been in super high demand.
Yeah.
Like,
well, there was a change in costume, I noticed as well.
Okay.
The costumes did, especially for the lieutenant, the costume looks a lot cheaper than the original, like more traditional Navy uniform.
Yeah. Yeah. Those details I don't have. Lost the time. I would love to talk to one of the like bit actors of this and know what the experience was like.
Yeah.
Shooting this stuff. Like, I don't think I can talk to Ray Wise or Tim Curry about it, but I feel like I could probably talk to like Super Hunk number 3.
Yeah. I mean, you might be able to talk to Barry Corbin about it. He seems, he's remarkably still alive and seems like a pretty cool dude.
He seems really cool. Like, yeah, that'd be a little bonus episode.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, and it's gonna mostly be having him say lines from the game to me. Mostly gonna have him,
Commander.
Yeah, record a bunch of stuff for like my alarm to wake up. Like, well, it's time to get up. We're not gonna let those communists take to the day, are we? Get up, Commander. And then like whenever Liv does something, I'd be like, well, she's a Spitfire, I'll tell you that much. And I just press this little clip of him being low-key sexist about Tanya. Shake it, baby.
There's a scene where she like calls in an airstrike and she's just like waving flares going, shake it, baby. And I'm just like, that's such a weird phrase to me.
She is doing more work to set up her personal branding and catchphrase than anyone else.
Oh, for sure.
And Yuri does have "I'm Yuri, oh baby" as his catchphrase, but Einstein, his like "Please rescue Einstein," like that's not catchy.
No, no, but it's so cute.
It's really cute. It does make me want a plush Einstein, specifically of the Yuri's Revenge Einstein.
Yes, with his kind of buggy eyes and his crazy hair. It's perfect.
Poofy cheeks. He looks a little bit like a live action Dr. Light from Mega Man.
Yeah, I definitely could see that.
Any final wrap-up thoughts before we close out?
Well, Carrie, you might think that the show is over, but I have to tell you that you ain't seen nothing yet.
Ain't seen nothing yet. Baby, you just ain't seen nothing yet.
Because every episode that I co-host on Watch Out for Fireballs ends with an onion poem. Gary, are you ready for my onion poem?
You know I am.
Okay. Here we go. So I'm down in the killing fields and I'm looking for something that I lost, and some chick comes up to me and says, "Hey, Commander." And I'm like, "Onion." And then it's 3 a.m. and I'm on the moon and I'm wearing my leathers, and Premier Romanov says, "I thought I told you." And I'm like, "Onion." And finally, I go back in time and some dinosaurs trying to eat me, chompy, chomp, chomp. And I say, "I'm not an onion because this is my United States of an onion." This is my United States of an onion. Thank you.
Perfect. More onion poems on Teenage Dirtbags.
Yes.
Brayden, do you have anything going on?
No, I don't. I mean, not like I work at a place, and I rarely go outside. And this is the most internet exposure I've had for other people in a long time. So no, I don't have anything going on. Don't contact me.
Don't contact Brady. I want to say, just and sincerely, I'm saying this on mic, but it's true. Thank you for doing this.
Oh God, it's a blast. I love doing this.
It's really fun.
It's really fun. Yeah.
I see, for people who don't know, I see Brayden in real life. Brayden and I are part of the same game group, but I miss podcasting with you.
It's a different energy. It's nice to be a real goofball for a couple hours.
Yeah, I really like it. Perhaps someday we can do stuff again. No pressure or anything. Like, I also am busy and stuff, but it'll be fun.
Constantly find, as you know, but I'll tell the audience, is that I'm constantly finding new music videos that I'm like, we should talk about this at some point.
Same. And then also, you and I, we went to go see They Might Be Giants on Friday, and you came up with a little elevator pitch.
The chariot.
Yeah, the wheel chariot.
The wheel chariot, which is having little side panels that you can fold down on your wheelchair so that other people can sit with you. Yeah,
and then you can kind of cruise around. It's a great idea.
Yeah, it's good for when you're just hanging out and other people want to also sit down.
It's probably too good for the pitch.
there's not an element of like
it
evil
doesn't
or
hurt you.
death attached to it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't hurt you. So, if you're listening to this and thank you again, Braden.
Oh, no, thank
Sincere
you.
appreciation.
And thank you, Kay, for taking a vacation so I could finally get back on the network.
Well, absolutely. And also and thanks to listeners for understanding the format change, so we can take breaks from time to time.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this and you are any kind of marginalized person and you have a project or product you'd like us to shout out, please send me an email at Gary@Duckfeed.tv. Include your pronouns, links, all that kind of stuff, and we'd be happy to do so. This episode, I want to give a shout out to Nora Reed, an online friend of both Kay and I's, who makes jewelry. So rhymes with florist, and Nora Reed uses they, them pronouns. You can find their work at nora.jewelry. This is glass stuff. They make tokens for TTRPGs. They make jewelry. They make Pride jewelry all year round,
Nice.
not just in June. So check that out. I have seen their work, and it's great.
And may I also just say that Nora Reed is like a really cool, like old Hollywood name. Like,
That is a
Nora
great
Reed
name.
is a cool name.
Reed is a great last name generally.
Yeah.
It's a horrible first name. Richards. Richards! If you have thoughts about our upcoming games, if you have thoughts about Command & Conquer 2, Red Alert Yuri's Revenge, I believe you can still write in. This episode will come out. Yeah, you can still write in at duckfeed.tv/contact. Same thing if you have thoughts about The Last Door Season 2 or Lost Kingdoms. If you have thoughts about next month's games, which are Skin Deep, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3, the Phantom Liberty expansion for Cyberpunk 2077, or the Talos Principle, write in by the 15th of July. If you have individual thoughts on individual games, write in multiple times. Please keep your thoughts concise. We would appreciate that. The Lost Kingdoms episode and Talos Principles episode are our premium episodes, which means everybody gets the generalities, but patrons at $5 or above get the entire episode. You become a patron at patreon.com/duckfeedtv. You get a bunch of bonus shows. So you get to listen to Unfilmable and Real Lich Hours. We are currently working our way through Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. There's
Nice.
tons of fun.
Unfilmable is one of my faves. Like,
Thanks.
I love everything, but like, it was really serendipitous that your episode of Tales from the Crypt came out just when I was just happened to be thinking about Tales from the Crypt. And rewatching it, and I was like, okay, this is my inspiration to like go in and watch them. And the first episode I came across was one that I remembered, is one of the few that I remember, and it was The Reluctant Vampire. Do you remember that one?
Oh, yeah.
With,
Yeah,
like,
that's great.
Surprisingly, Malcolm McDowell as the lead. Like, where'd you come from? All right.
That show gets everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're talking about Red Alert 3 a little bit today. The Tim Curry episode replays all the members of the hillbilly family who kidnap and torture the salesman, Ed Bagley Jr. Is incredible. Yeah.
The perfect victim of a kidnapping, Ed Begley Jr.
Very much so. Like, he was voted that in high school. If you cannot patronize us, we understand. Please leave us ratings and reviews on Apple Podcasts, Podcast Addict, wherever. Write about us on message boards and stuff. And big special thanks. We always thank Gwen, but I want to give a big thanks to Gwen because this will be slightly harder to edit because the format's a little differently here.
And because
so big thanks to Gwen.
Me.
No.
Says, thank you, Gwen.
Yeah, because you had to filter out all of the coughing and burping and farting you were doing.
Just constant stomach noises.
Just a nonstop Borgerigmos.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this episode is brought to you by Bivouac and Borgerigmos.
And Craig.
Your words of the day. Yes. Yeah. And we will see you until next time, Brayden. What can they watch out for?
They can watch out for, oh gosh, I wasn't prepared to think of something. They can watch out for spice.